To say the Las Vegas Grand Prix has been divisive is drastically understating it, with Max saying the wild adventure into the unknown may throw up a few surprises, but overall the weekend will just be for show, to world-famous tax expert Bernie Ecclestone claiming that an F1 race is nothing to do with F1, despite it being an F1 event with F1 drivers giving points towards the result of an F1 season. It's been hard to keep track of the consensus going into the weekend, making it even more of an unknown entity. Later last week, there was an announcement about the track conditions that sent shockwaves throughout the entire paddock and seemed to cause great concern among fans and drivers, but has a last-minute announcement from Pirelli saved the weekend? Or just like the rest of us, are they going in blind, putting all of their money on green and run the risk of leaving the wheels spinning on black, or potentially not spinning at all like a previous visit to the USA? Want to know the potentially genius Grand Prix saving news? Is it to be believed, or is it all just hit and hope as we move past 21 and arrive at the 22nd Grand Prix of the season? And stick around to the end, because it appears that the teams may have something interesting and clever planned to deal with the conditions this weekend. In our last video, we said that we felt like we had been transported back into the late 2000s with all the talk of Felipe Massa, Jenson Button and Flavio Briatore, but never mind Jenson, we're starting to feel like Benjamin Button as we appear to have gone even further back in time. It all seemed to be lining up in an eerily familiar way to 2005, with F1 set to make a stop in America, with an upcoming weekend at an iconic stateside location potentially being undone by tire-related issues. The 2005 Indianapolis Grand Prix was the scene of a massive controversy, which paved the way, ironically enough, for Pirelli to step in and dominate the rubber of the sport. However, there are growing concerns after on and off criticism being leveled at the tire provider over the years that history may be about to repeat itself, with announcements from Pirelli itself seeming to indicate that the tires they have provided for the upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix will not be appropriate for the weather, surface, and layout of the weekend. So what was the announcement that had everyone so worried? It will also be a major technical challenge for both the teams and us, as we head into this race with no real reference apart from the simulations. Nobody has ever actually driven the 6.12-kilometer Las Vegas Strip circuit before, which is second only to Spa in terms of overall length this year, characterized by 3 straights and 17 corners. So a long lap, which will be punishing enough on its own, but Pirelli go on to shed light on what it expects from the characteristics of the track and what sort of issues it may present, going on to say, the surface will be a mix of the usual street asphalt, especially on the actual strip, as well as other parts that have been completely re-asphalted for the occasion, adding another unknown element. There won't be any support races, and the track will be opened up again to normal traffic for long chunks of the day, which means that the surface won't rubber in as usual and deliver improved grip. So, long track, no support races, public use during the race weekend, lack of understanding beyond simulations, and a mega straight which will see the cars at top speed for vast amounts of time. Anything else? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's also going to be averaging 7 degrees Celsius in Sin City this weekend, or as us Brits call it, tropical, with the typical operating window of the tires being between 100 and 110 degrees. However, Pirelli tried to put our minds at ease by offering up suggestions to the teams on how to best operate the tires over the weekend, as well as explanations for the rubber they'll be bringing to the track, as they went on to add. Minimum tire pressures should be around 27 psi at the front, 24.5 psi at the back due to the expected low temperatures as well as the track layout. In cold conditions, the gap between the cold tire pressures and the normal running pressures will be greatly reduced, so when the car is moving, tire pressure will increase a lot less than on other circuits due to the low asphalt temperatures. As a result, we think that the running pressures will still be lower than on other circuits that are tough on tires, such as Baku for example. Okay, so the teams won't be going into the weekend completely blind, and it doesn't seem like they'll get caught out at the last moment like the Michelin drivers of 2005, but Mario Isola's recent comments don't exactly fill us with confidence and seem to have completely undermined the feeling of safety that Pirelli was attempting to put across. He did this by having a devil-may-care attitude towards the reactions of the teams, having this to say: "It's a step into the unknown for everybody, I believe. Las Vegas will be cold, it's a street circuit. We decided to use the 3 softest compounds in the range to try and generate grip. I can imagine a lot of track evolution and very low grip. So they will complain. It's fine. We will manage this situation, but it's a big unknown. Fast track, long straights and high speed, all conditions that are quite difficult to manage." So while on one hand Isola acknowledges the reasons for concern, he also rebuffs these concerns as people complaining, perhaps due to the fatigue of whining that he must face on a weekly basis. I mean, you gotta feel for the guys over at Pirelli when, despite their best efforts, as soon as anything goes wrong or a driver isn't happy, it's straight onto the radio with the "Bono, my tires are gone." It seems like every driver's instant reaction to them underperforming or anything going wrong is to just blame the tire provider, who, while they have made a couple of doozies over the years, looking at you Baku 2021, they have been on the whole very consistent and a fair provider, doing everything within their control to provide a mix of perishable for entertainment purposes while also giving the resilience to be safe and fair. When talking about their reaction to the conditions for the upcoming weekend and what they can do to control, or rather what they can't control, Mario went on to say, "Obviously, we cannot change the weather, we cannot increase the temperature. A challenge could be keeping the temperature in the tire. That's why we decided to select the 3 softest compounds." And then, as I said before, it's a bit of jumping into the unknown because we just have data based on simulations, nothing else. So what do the teams think? With the updates provided by Pirelli, are they planning anything special for the weekend? Are we going to see the new super straight speed potentially being negated by weaving for temperature and grip, or perhaps even a polar spec for the cars? Well, Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Chauvelin gave some insight on what the teams have been considering in anticipation for the conditions this weekend, having this to say. "It'll just depend on exactly how cold it is. If the track is down in single figures, that's often a region where you go winter testing. You do a run, it's very difficult for the tires to either get them switched on, or there may be graining and things. And then sometimes you will just want to wait until it warms up a bit. So actually having some sort of race and qualifying those conditions, it'll be interesting." So it would appear that the individual elements aren't themselves unknown quantities. We've seen street races, whether like that of a glorious UK summer pushing into the higher parts of the 8 or 9 degrees in winter testing, as well as individual track surfaces that throw up different challenges. But all of these factors together in a single race weekend? Well, it all sounds like the combination is going to make a beast that is hard to tame. So just what can the teams do during the gap between rounds? Chauvelin had this to say. "You just try and identify the risks with the new circuit, work out your contingencies, whether you need any sort of specific car spec to deal with that, and we're going through that at the moment. But as I said, if it's at the very cold end of predictions, it's difficult to know how the tires are going to work." So as with everything else related to this weekend, the consensus is divided. But luckily for us, the entertainment will come one way or another, whether it's through a surprisingly gripping or entertainment race through the Vegas streets, or seeing a grid of 20 Bambis on ice vying for points in an absolute wreckfest, producing a survival-style race that could lead to shock points finishes by the sheer level of attrition. Either way, we're in for a hell of a spectacle. There is one thing that everyone can agree on in the build-up to this race, and that is that no one knows anything outside of the optics, simulations, or suppositions. The teams will roll their dice in the F1 casino, the drivers will hedge their bets and take their risks, and the fans will bear witness to every moment. So it seems with the amount of attention that this event has brought to the sport, no matter who is on the top step come the checkered flag, the house has won yet again.